spiritual identity crisis. Actually, I'm not certain that any of us have ever had a spiritual identity crisis these days, because we're part of this community that speaks again and again of how we are spiritual beings having a human experience. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I'm just fixing my pages here. I used, actually, I brought one book, but I actually used 4 books to compile this. Well, 5, actually. from Neil Donald Walsh to Marianne Williamson to Deepak Chopra to, well, you'll see who else. But I like this book, How Then Shall We Live? 4 Simple Questions That Reveal the Beauty and Meaning of Our Lives. Wayne Mueller, it was part of my 2003 whatever it was, my study for the ministry. So the questions are, the 4 questions. Who am I? And the second question is, what do I love? The third part, how shall I live knowing I will die? And the 4th part, what is my gift to the family of the earth? So I'm going to talk mainly about the who am I? And I realized that I'd not thought about who I was specifically since I was in college. And as I thought more about this concept of who am I realized that I've been exploring who I am for 25 years, 30 years, a long time. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are constantly exploring, learning, awakening, evolving towards spiritual consciousness. And it's as if we are compelled to do that. Conscious people everywhere are constantly evolving, I believe, toward a higher and higher spiritual consciousness. When I thought about this years ago, I thought my life would be perfect. And it is, but it's not because of anything that changed on the outside. Things do change on the outside. But there is a constant within us that is spirit that does not change. As divine humans, we have a very strong ego. And with that strong ego, we have created extraordinary luxury and beauty and music. But we have also created unbelievable horror and destruction. And it's easy to look at the world, to look at politics, and to look at other countries and say, it's a mess. But what is happening underneath that mess is kind and good people are doing the best they can everywhere. And it's the job of the news media to report as much as possible anything that would be a drama to us. And they're very, very good at it. So there have been times in my life when I have felt like a victim. But in the 70s, I began to read the Seth material from Jane Roberts, and the words that were most important to me from that work was, you are creating your own life. You are responsible. You are creating it. In every moment, we are creating it. So Neil Donald Walsh, in his Conversations with God, reminds us that we do not know who we are until we know who we are not. So we are using who we are not as ways to explore who we are, ways to come through pain, ways to come through difficulty, ways to come through that which we do not, is not friendly. And we get ourselves into unfriendly situations. I was listening to NPR yesterday, and I don't know if anyone else heard it. I only heard the last part of it. This man who, from New Orleans, who did some violence against women, and he was a wanted man, and he ran away into the woods. And he actually lived in the wilderness for 22 years before someone stumbled into his camp and they were talking. And this was another man who was in a very similar situation, who, as a result of listening to what this other fellow had been going through for 22 years, turned himself in the next day. And the story of this man, what he did was he thought about it. He really thought a lot about it, and he gave a challenge to the universe: show me there's a God. And the universe showed him there was a God, and he said, I'll turn myself in. And he turned himself in, and there, of course, were no records. They said, the prosecutor said, well, we don't know you. We don't know anything that you have done. There's no records. You're free to go. And the man said, no, I was a police officer. The records of this, they're across the street in the basement. You'll find the records. He actually did that, imagine. And he was sentenced to a number of years in prison, and the judge said, I'm going to suspend the sentence because I feel that what you have done is payment enough. So he was a free man. It was a remarkable, remarkable story. Every once in a while we hear those stories, and we are not those stories. Who we are is not those stories. We all, here I am creating a good story, and I think it's really important that I share it, and that I keep creating this good story that I'm responsible for, that's part of me. But I tend to forget that I'm not my story. I just forget. So I think I ought to be a much more interesting person than people think I am. So another thing, well, let me read a quotation from Abraham through Esther Hicks. Who you really are is non-physical energy, focused in a physical body, knowing full well that all is well, and always has been and always will be. You are here to experience the supreme pleasure of concluding new desires, and then bringing yourself into vibrational alignment with the new desires that you've concluded, for the purpose of taking thought beyond what it has been before. And thus we're creating our stories. So we are non-physical energy with this wide open agenda, and each of us is exploring like crazy, and both for the negative and for the positive. So one issue that I'm curious about is aging. I'll be 70 in a couple of weeks. I just can't believe it. I can't believe it. I don't feel like it. I don't feel 70. 70. But we don't feel old. We don't. Our consciousness is not something that ages. Thank God. And so Barbara Brodsky of Deep Spring Center reminds us that the part of you that can be aware of pain is not in pain. So that is a witness. There is a part of you that is not of this earth. It's not of the world. And our bodies are aging, but who we are does not age. And who we feel we are cannot be a victim of aging. I'm not a victim of aging. You're not a victim of aging. So Eckhart Tolle in A New Earth talks about egos a lot. And one thing that we do is we complain that others do not treat us well enough. Not enough recognition, not enough love, not enough respect, and definitely not enough attention. So he suggests that perhaps what we are not getting is what we are not giving. Think of that. So, if you want more attention, give more attention. If you want more respect, give respect. And continue to do that. Because you will not know how to receive until you know how to give. You can't know how to receive respect until you know how to give it. And practice that. It's a good practice. So each of us is entering a journey of courage and healing, along which we hold the truth of our spirit as we witness the sorrow as well as the bliss. So Wayne Mueller in his book, How Then Shall We Live, talks about his quotation, "Within the sorrow there is grace. When we come to those things that break us down, we touch those things that break us open." And I like that because imagine that we cannot be broken down without being broken open. And this openness is how we need to receive the love of God. The truth is we've never been separate from God, who is exploring life as us. We are emanations of God. That's one way to put it, emanations of God. And we have never left our home in heaven. I think those are words from the Course in Miracles, but they are in my head, so I put them on the paper. So I want to give you a reading from Marianne Williamson's book, The Healing of America. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us most. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and famous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world, and there is nothing enlightening about shrinking so that people won't feel insecure around you. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in all of us. When we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we become liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. So I suggest we show up. Just show up. Our light frightens us because it is so bright. So I was living in Santa Fe, and my house faced east. And one morning, and I used to walk out and watch the sunrise. One morning I walked out to watch the sunrise, and I realized that who I was brighter than the sun. And imagine how bright the sun is. But who we are is brighter than the sun. Our radiance is brighter than the sun. And it's not a light that hurts your eyes. So our love frightens us because it is so complete and unconditional. We left Santa Fe, we moved to Ann Arbor, and I was sitting at my desk one evening. Actually, I was writing a letter to myself. And of course, I was imagining that it wasn't just myself writing a letter to myself. I was imagining it was Spirit. And I was at once overcome with such love. And in that love, it was scary, it was so powerful. And those kinds of situations happen. They just happen. You can't decide when or how or why you are going to feel that love. But it's important to know that it's possible. And of course, we feel the energy of Spirit, and words are generally inadequate to express what that is. Wayne Mueller's book has a small exercise in it. And so I'm going to suggest this exercise. Ask yourself several times in a day, who am I? Who am I now? Who am I with this person? Who am I with a different person? Who am I alone? Who am I in nature? Who am I as part of my community? Who am I in health, and who am I in sickness? Just, am I of your world? Am I of Spirit? Just ask. Just ask and see what happens. Listen. Listening is probably the most powerful thing we do. Because it takes us where we want to go. Always. So in the book, in one of, I was reading Neil Donald Walsh's book, Friendship with God. And he has an exercise for us to do too. Simply be quiet. Be with yourself in stillness. Do this daily in small doses. Stop your doingness. Stop your thinking. Just be, however short a time. It can change everything, he suggests. It can change everything. So I've been practicing this, and it's waiting for some kind of illumination. But it's not the illumination that is the important thing. It's the process. It's the asking. It's the listening for the answer. So I get a chance to breathe deeply, and I get a chance to relax and let go, because letting go is very important. So what are our gifts, our spiritual gifts to each other? Just briefly to finish up. Sharing our kindness. I have a quote from Alan Cohen. I get a quotation from him every day in my email. Today I bend the truth in favor of kindness. I don't regret what I did, because I am surer of what is kind than what is true. So remember, you're divine. Smile, laugh, all of that for no reason. I I sometimes do this walking through the stores, walking through the mall. I just giggle to myself. I really sometimes wonder what people think. Don't care, don't care. So don't give so much importance to your thoughts. Act from the voice of spirit within. Witness everything that happens as neutral. Imagine if we did that. Imagine how peaceful we might be living our lives if everything that came to us as an opportunity to be dramatic. Imagine if that was neutral. Eckhart Tolle offers us this image. The world is but the waves on the surface of a vast ocean. You are that vast ocean. And I think it's time